All over the world, there are 6 million people who call themselves Freemasons and believe they are spreading the light, but they are actually very much afraid of the light. This film tells about what kind of light and how these emissaries of Jahbulon are spreading it and how it affects us. In 1446, William St. Clair began building Roslin Chapel in Roslin, a village south of Edinburgh, which eventually became a real Masonic lodge. It was actually the headquarters of the Knights Templar, also called the Temple of Yahweh. In 1480, the chapel was completed under the direction of Oliver St. Clair, now called Sinclair. In due time, the Scottish family Sinclair created a Masonic system of its own. Sir William Sinclair became the first Grand Master of Scotland in 1736. He was connected to the secret order Prières de Sion. On Friday, the 13th of October, 1307, several Knights Templar were arrested in France, including the Grand Master of the order, Jacques Bernard de Molay. Jacques de Molay was sentenced to life imprisonment, but he claimed that his order was innocent. He was burned at the stake on Ile Saint-Louis in the Seine near Notre Dame on the evening of the 18th of March, 1314. Many Knights Templar fled to Scotland, where they preserved the secrets of their order and infiltrated the existing guilds. In 1420, the band Knights Templar founded a lodge in Scotland, where they established their international headquarters. The Knights Templar bided their time to found the so-called Scottish Freemasonry. On the 9th of January, 1599, some Knights Templar founded the lodge at Atkinson Have in Scotland. On July the 31st of the same year, another lodge was founded in Edinburgh. The infiltration of the lodges of the operative Freemasons thus began relatively early. In the beginning of the 1540s, English craft guilds began for economic reasons to accept passive members that did not have a builder's background, such as bankers, merchants, landowners, magicians and scholars. These people greatly desired to belong to a Masonic lodge, despite the fact that they lacked the background. The original Freemasons opened their first lodge in York in northern England as early as 926, with the Roman Collegia Fabrorum as prototype. In the lodges of the Freemasons, journeymen were instructed in the complicated secrets of medieval architecture. In 1375, a document, which was later found in the London City Archives, described the Freemasons as craftsmen, whose movements were not restricted by the feudal lords. Instead, they were free to travel around the country and even around the continent. In 1703, the lodges began to officially accept non-Masons, and in 1714, the accepted Freemasons founded their own Grand Lodge of York in England. Modern accepted Freemasonry began in Westminster in central London on the 24th of June 1717, when the United Grand Lodge of England was created by the merger of 4 smaller lodges. June 24th is the holy day of John the Baptist. This took place at the Goose and Gridiron by St. Paul's Cathedral. London thereafter became the headquarters of a secret organization which grew ever larger. Manipulating Freemasonry had begun its advance. The Grand Lodge in London became the mother lodge of the world. Today, Freemasons Hall is located in Great Queen Street in the Covent Garden district. The Freemasons Hall is the central meeting place for the 8,600 Masonic lodges in the United Kingdom. Above one of the columns outside Freemasons Hall in London, there is a symbol of Masonic global power, the globe wrapped in a net. It is also noteworthy that the communists practiced dragging their captured enemies in huge nets, which occurred, for instance, in 1940 in the Baltic states. Above the main entrance to Freemasons Hall can be seen the Masonic motto for their power, Aude Vide Tace, which is Latin for hearken, gain insight, be tacit. This means that the brothers who obey and remain silent about the secret plans of the Grand Masters gain insight into what is really happening in the world. Another inscription, now in Hebrew, above the main entrance, reveals their ideological origin, Kadosh le'Adonai, holy for Yahweh. These words were originally written on the mitre of the chief rabbi. In the Torah, this mitre is called Netzah HaKodesh, which means the Holy Crown. Freemasons Hall is full of various Masonic symbols. Inside there are as many as 20 small temples, together with the Grand Temple with its mosaic ceiling, stained glass windows and carved doors. The French-Scottish system contains 33 degrees, divided into 7 classes. There supposedly was a staircase with 33 steps in the Temple of Solomon. This is the most widely spread system in the world today. In their propaganda films, the Freemasons only show their ceremonial procession to the Grand Temple. Often these men are willing tools in the hands of the economic forces that actually control banking and form policy. Usually they are not aware of their organization's bloody history. They have only discovered that Freemasonry will benefit their careers, otherwise they would have had difficulty prevailing. The guide at Freemasons' Hall explained that these magically charged handles gave a Freemason leaving the building extra energy to use in the struggle against the enemies of the order. On the walls are murals showing angels with goat's feet, as if they were devils. The whole building radiates an exceedingly negative energy, which causes one's aura to shrink. The secret society that controls everything within Freemasonry was founded in Ingolstadt, Bavaria, on the 1st of May 1776 as the Perfectibilists. The founder was the 28-year-old university professor Adam Weishaupt. Presumably in 1779 the new secret and subversive organization was rechristened the Illuminati Order, and Weishaupt attached it at certain well-chosen points to Freemasonry. Its most important slogan became, "The Illuminati must rule the world." The motto of the Illuminati was freedom, equality, brotherhood. On the 20th of July 1785, the courier of the Illuminati, Jacob Lanz, who worked as a priest, was struck by a lightning near Rathenberg in Bavaria and died. He had sewn a list of Illuminati members and some compromising papers into his priest's robe. The local police found other important documents at Lanz's house, including detailed instructions for the coming French Revolution. Some of the papers were addressed to the Grand Master of the Grand Orient in Paris. Everything was handed over to the Bavarian government, and on the 4th of August 1785, a ban on secret societies was issued. The Grand Duke of Bavaria ordered some of the confiscated secret documents to be printed under the titles "Some Original Documents of the Illuminati Order" and "Supplement of Further Original Documents." These were not taken seriously until it was too late. Today these documents exist only in the city archives in Ingolstadt, amongst other historical volumes of great interest. The Illuminati wish to be free and independent. The more freedom the Freemasons acquire, the more enslaved are the non-Freemasons. In order to entrap people, the Freemasons have to maintain that they are the angels of light, and that all talk about their evil intentions is nothing but manifestations of a sick imagination. The eye in the pyramid still graces the $1 bill. It was President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Freemason of the 32nd degree, who ordered the seal to be printed on the dollar bill in 1933, 144 years after Congress had accepted this seal. The seal symbolizes the Illuminati claim to control America, no matter who is president. The Masonic pyramid on the dollar bill is built of 33 stones. The supranational socialist power the Illuminati aspired to was summed up in the concept of Novus Ordo Seclorum, the New World Order.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
There has also been opposition towards the activities of the Freemasons. During the Second World War, Serbian nationalists issued a set of 4 stamps with protective symbols at an anti-Masonic exhibition in Belgrade in 1941. The Freemasons detest these symbols that reduce the energy flow from the negatively charged Masonic symbols. The extra postage went to the campaign against international Freemasonry. In the United States, the Freemason Samuel Gompers, Dawson Lodge number 16 in Washington, D.C., was a union leader and troublemaker. He saw to it that the socialists and communists started celebrating the Illuminati birthday on the 1st of May in 1889. Thus the secret network of the Illuminati was magically strengthened. In Washington, D.C., a monument was erected by the Freemasons in honor of Samuel Gompers. Justin Sicard de Plozol, one of the Grand Orient Brothers, called Freemasonry the mother of revolutions. The Austrian Freimaurer Zeitung admitted in December 1864 the French Revolution of 1789 was Masonic because all prominent men of that period were Freemasons. Thereafter Freemasonry likewise conducted the revolutions of 1830 and 1848. Together with the Illuminati, the Grand Orient of France played a leading role in the Jacobin takeover in France in 1789. When we entered the headquarters of the Grand Orient in Paris, we were confronted with a triangle with slogans along its 3 sides: freedom, equality, brotherhood. This shows that the Grand Orient was behind the so-called French Revolution. The Freemasons do not deny this. Instead, they claim in their periodical Humanism in June 1998 that this orgy of violence was indeed their work. Le Grand Orient de France was founded in Paris in the year 1771-1773. Its aim was to infiltrate the government and then destroy it. Claudio Janet, who was a professor at the University of Paris, stated in 1873, "The Masonic lodges are nothing but resources in a revolutionary army." Members of the Grand Orient became ministers in the provisional government after the February Revolution of 1848. In 1849, all leading socialists were members of the Grand Orient. Socialism and Freemasonry are one and the same. The anarchist leader, Louis Michel, played a greater role as a revolutionary than as a Freemason. The anarchist movement, founded by the Freemasons for political idiots, uses the Grand Orient Satanist red and black colours. Michel had been active on the barricades in the Paris Commune from the 18th of March to the 28th of May 1871, which called itself the dictatorship of the proletariat. Louis Michel was a member of the Lodge La Philosophie Sociale within La Grande Loge Symbolique Écossaise, according to documents from the Grand Orient of France. Le Grand Orient de France has 41,000 members in 980 lodges in France and other countries. A plate in the Lodge Museum in Paris depicts a Freemason leaning on a corpse and at the same time trying to build a new world for us, an invisible temple. But it is not possible to build a world on corpses, lies, plunder and injustice. Such a society would be extremely unstable and unbalanced. Murder and other expressions of violence as well as lies are part of the Grand Orient model of a perfect society. Freemasonry is building its new world on the corpses of its victims. Salvador Allende became a Freemason in 1935 in the Lodge Progreso No. 4 in Valparaiso. He is still held in great esteem by the Grand Orient because he wanted to introduce communism into Chile. The Grand Orient has, through its affiliated lodges, spread death and revolution also in many other countries. The Freemasons forced the Tsar to abdicate on the 15th of February 1917 on the threat that if he refused, his family would be killed. This was revealed by Anna Viberova, a close friend to the Tsar family, in her memoirs. A Russian English-speaking documentary, The Russian Revolution, admits
politicians, major industrialists, and the military, unable to reach a compromise with the Tsar, gravitated to the idea of a conspiracy. Many of them, political adversaries in the open, were allied behind the scenes, all members of a secret Freemason brotherhood, the Great East of Peoples of Russia. Founded in St. Petersburg about 1912, the organization was controlled by a Supreme Council and had more than 300 members. In 1916, popular lawyer Alexander Kerensky became head of the Supreme Council. He and other Great East members nurtured a plan of an anti-Tsarist coup.
The makers of the film apparently believed the time had come to tell the truth. Many of the Bolsheviks, as well as Lenin and Trotsky, were Freemasons. Lenin was a Freemason of the 31st degree and a member of the French lodge Art et Travail. Lenin also became a member of the most malicious lodge of the Grand Orient, the Nine Sisters, in 1914. Karl Radek, real name Chaim Sobelson, who was already a member of the Grand Orient of France before the Bolsheviks seized power, was appointed Grand Master of the Soviet Grand Lodge, the North Star. Just as powerful as the Grand Orient is the Grand Lodge of France, which regularly organizes its secretive meetings at its headquarters in Paris. The Masonic leaders admit that a misuse of power occasionally occurs, but claim at the same time that the order itself deals sternly with such issues. That is not true. Nearly everyone who has attempted to work against the corruption within Freemasonry or alerted the leadership within the order has been ostracized or has chosen to leave Freemasonry. The Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of France, Georges Marcoux, stated in a letter to the members in 1929, "Freemasonry shall rule the world over, and from its immortal principles, inherited from one generation to the next, will be built a stable foundation, the basis of a more perfect ideal society." In actual fact, the Freemasons control the European Union. The Freemasons present themselves as wise and honest, concerned only with the practice of charity. It is, however, out of the question that a wise and honest person would become a Freemason. A member of a Masonic lodge cannot at the same time be wise and honest. If he is a Freemason and intelligent, he cannot possibly be honest. This is particularly true of the communists. The Masons recognize each other by asking simple questions like, "What is the time? How old are you?" If you answer 9:30 or 50 years, this shows that you are not a brother. one is supposed to answer, "There is no time any longer," or "I am very old." You can also show that you are a brother by asking, "Do you also work day and night?" The Grand Lodge of France has very influential members in both the European Union Commission and the Parliament. The Grand Orient of France, in fact, is considered the most active and most powerful in all of Europe. Within the Central European Union institutions, the Freemasons wreak havoc without any hindrance. Proposals of registering all Freemasons within the European Parliament have been stopped in Strasbourg. In 1966, Richard Coudenhove-Kalergi published Pan-Europe 1922 to 1966 in Vienna, where he states that the young generation would one day live in the United States of Europe. Masonic documents testify to unofficial political activity, such as the creation of the United States of Europe and the crushing of the Franco government in Spain. The Freemasons are convinced that their magic symbols with powerfully charged low frequencies affect the environment. The influence is not positive. The British Freemasons stole their own Egyptian obelisk, originally erected by Thutmose III. The 3,500-year-old obelisk, known as Cleopatra's Needle, stands on Victoria Embankment by the Thames in London. The obelisk was transported to London from Alexandria and erected on the 13th of September 1878. The Freemason Dr. Erasmus Wilson paid for the transport, which, due to a powerful storm in the Bay of Biscay, resulted in the death of 6 men. The obelisk was a symbol of the sun. The Freemasons erected an obelisk known as the Pyramid, composed of 13 parts, on the square next to the Royal Palace in Stockholm following the murder of Gustavus III in 1792. It is built to the proportions of the Luxor obelisk, with a model of Cheops pyramid at the top. We can see Masonic obelisks everywhere. On the 22nd of February 1881, the Freemasons, including William Hulbert and William H. Vanderbilt, raised a third obelisk from Alexandria in Central Park in New York City behind the Metropolitan Museum of Art. This obelisk was also originally erected at Heliopolis in Egypt in 1600 BC by Thutmose III. It was removed to Alexandria in 12 BC by the Romans. The ominous scorpions are hiding under this obelisk. The scorpion is a very important symbol to the Freemasons. Many negative events in the 19th and 20th centuries have struck humanity at the period when the sun has been in the sign of Scorpio. The Soviet regime was implemented on the 8th of November 1917, and the European Union was also proclaimed under this sign on the 1st of November 1993. The Washington Monument, dedicated to the President and Freemason George Washington, was completed in 1884. The Capitol is located directly to the east. Washington, D.C. was planned in 1791 by the French Masonic architect Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, who designed the streets and avenues to form a magic pattern with the White House at the center. In 1792, the foundation stone of the White House was laid on the 13th of October, the anniversary of the demise of the Knights Templar. Signs and symbols control the world, not phrases and laws, according to the Chinese philosopher Confucius. Thus symbols are magic tools to control people. The symbolism of political Freemasonry is based on architectural implements. The desire was symbolically to build a new world, the invisible temple for non-Masons. At the same time, the Freemasons used Kabbalistic magic to undermine society. At the initiation ceremony, the candidate is made to stand bare-chested and blindfolded. The blindfold is removed after the initiation, when the Freemason has entered into the light. After the blindfold is removed, the following question is asked: "What do you see?" The initiator is expected to answer, "I can see the sun, the moon, and the Grand Master." This implies that the sun shines during the day and the moon during the night, while the Grand Master illuminates the lodge with his advice. This system is symbolized in every lodge in the following way. The Master Mason's trowel was a symbol of Masonic brotherly love. It is used to magically forge together different individuals into a brotherhood. Higher personal accolades stand for greater magic secrets as world builders. The apron of lambskin symbolized the Freemason's purity, whatever he did. The skull is taken from the Knights Templar, as well as the bones. The Freemasons have taken over another important symbol from the Temple of Solomon, the two pillars, Jachin and Boaz, which correspond to Osiris and Isis. Another important symbol is the pyramid. The Freemasons worship their own deity. Only upon attaining a high degree is the Freemason informed that the great architect of the universe is called Jahbulon. In the degree called the Holy Royal Arch, the 13th, the appearance of the Masonic god Jahbulon is revealed. He has a spider's body and 3 heads, that of a cat, a toad, and a human head. In this way, the Father God, the God of the heavens, and the God of death were united. Jahbulon is the demon Baal. The Freemasons thus worship a horrible monster. Freemasonry is based on demonism. Jahbulon is hardly a god that one openly wishes to admit to worshipping. The defector and Freemason of the 32nd degree, Bill Schnobelen, confirms this.
This is the name of God, Jah, like Hallelujah or Yahweh or Jehovah, okay? Baal is Baal, the god of the Canaanites. An is another name for the god Osiris, who is the, like, kind of the sun god in his underworld capacity.
Masonic lodges have a black and white checkered floor, supposedly symbolizing the relationship between good and evil, the Manician system. Masonic symbolism is all around us, even in underground stations. Here is Kungsträdgården station in Stockholm. Not far from one of the entrances, the Swedish Masonic Palace is located. There are 11 degrees in the Swedish Rite and 2 secret degrees. A network of lodges spreading lies and chaos all over the world. The Freemasons control cultural life, science, economic development and politics. The banker Nathan Mayer Rothschild became a Freemason in 1802 in the Lodge of Emulation in London. James and Anselm Rothschild were in the 1840s members of the Masonic Supreme Council of France. The banker Ferdinand Rothschild founded Ferdinand Rothschild Lodge No. 2420 in Waddesdon, Buckinghamshire, England, according to Internationale's Freimaurer Lexicon. Lord Lionel Walter Rothschild became a Freemason while studying at Oxford. He was recruited by Lord Alfred Milner, the leader of the order the Round Table. A large group of international bankers and industrialists supported the Bolshevik assumption of power in Russia. In his book Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution, Anthony Sutton refers to some very interesting documents from various archives of the American government. According to these documents, the same financial elite armed Adolf Hitler and both sides in the Korean and Vietnam Wars to be able to kill as many people as possible. At the same time, it is easier to reconstruct the world according to one's own bizarre perceptions and implement a world government. Not all of us appreciate the Masonic political system. The critics mean that the light of the Freemasons instead makes the world a darker and less safe place to live in. The senator and high-ranking Freemason Harry S. Truman, who became vice president and later president of the United States, explained the situation after Hitler's attack on the Soviet Union on the 24th of June 1941 in the New York Times. If we see that Germany is winning, we ought to help Russia, and if Russia is winning, we ought to help Germany, and that way let them kill as many as possible, although I don't want to see Hitler victorious under any circumstances. At the time, Truman was not only a Freemason of the 32nd degree, he was also Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Missouri from 1940 to 41. This information is available at the Masonic Temple, George Washington Memorial, in Alexandria, Virginia. This building in Alexandria is situated not far from Washington, D.C. It leaves a great impression. One of the largest Masonic halls in the world is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The main slogan for the Freemasons of Pennsylvania is now, "Share the light." the 15th of July 2000, documentary filmmaker Alex Jones and his associate Mike Hansen, equipped with 2 hidden video cameras and disguised as members of the Bohemian Club, successfully infiltrated the elite cult compound. The Bohemian Club was founded as an organization for selected journalists in 1872 at Grove Camp in Monterio in Sonoma County, 75 miles north of San Francisco. This club was infiltrated and transformed into a brotherhood. Every year on the 15th of July, several dozen leading members take part in a ritual dressed as priests in red-hooded Illuminati robes, guardians of the fire, worshipping a huge stone owl as Moloch. They also practice magic by burning someone in effigy. A torch from the lamp of the fellowship is used to ignite the fire. George W. Bush is also a member of the secret order Skull and Bones and the Hillbilly Camp. It is not to be wondered that George W. Bush appointed his brother, Colin Powell, Secretary of State. The Special Archives in Moscow contain documents that show the Jewish order B'nai B'rith, Sons of the Covenant, as superior to all other branches of Freemasonry, that it, in fact, constitutes a kind of Freemasonry within Freemasonry. B'nai B'rith was founded under the name Bundesbruder by 12 German Jewish Freemasons on the 13th of October 1843 at the Saint-Germain Café in New York City. The Supreme Council of 33rd Degrees of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in Washington, D.C. is located exactly 13 blocks from the White House. Everything in this building is wrought with symbolism. The right-hand stone line in front of the building is a symbol of wisdom, while the left-hand line represents power. It has been regarded as the Supreme Council that has affected every important political event. One of the most evil Masonic leaders in history was General Albert Pike, born in 1809 in Boston, a well-known lawyer in the South. Pike became a Freemason as late as 1850. Pike was elected to the Supreme Council on the 2nd of January 1859 and became the Sovereign Grand Commander of the Supreme Council. A passage in the Supreme Council of World Freemasonry, officially Southern jurisdiction in Washington, D.C., states, "Members of the Masonic fraternity have always played an important position in our nation's history." The Freemasons have erected a monument in honor of Albert Pike in Judiciary Square in central Washington, D.C. The plaque on the statue presents Pike as an orator, a lawyer, a philosopher, a scientist, a writer, a philanthropist, a soldier, and a poet. Albert Pike, his Illuminatus name was Limod Enhoff, who was called the devil of the 19th century, was very obsessed with the idea of world supremacy. He wished to see 3 world wars and 3 great revolutions that would pave the way for a world government. The foremost aim of the Freemasons was real world power. From the United Nations emblem, it is clearly seen that the 33 degrees of Freemasonry already control the world. Around this circular symbol, containing a grid of 33 sections, there are 2 olive branches with 13 leaves on either side, which symbolize a concretion of the spiritual means of development. To the Freemasonry, the acacia is its chief symbolic sign, whose esoteric meaning is very intense activity. The purpose of Masonic globalism is a new world order and a world government. The Masonic war against mankind is a slow-moving process. In a speech to the Congress on the 6th of March 1991, President George Herbert Bush said,
"Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order."
David Rockefeller Jr. stated to the United Nations Business Council in 1994, "We are on the verge of global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order." Charles Tartu, professor of psychology at the University of California, in 1987 wrote in his book Waking Up that humankind has fallen into the insanity of consensus trance and lost touch with our true possibilities and functions is a tragedy. This film is an attempt to illustrate the concealed history of Freemasonry as depicted in the book Architects of Deception. When the evil of international Freemasonry reaches its critical mass, Freemasonry will be destroyed from within. This is a law of nature. The secret power of Freemasonry carries within it the seeds of its own destruction, and the growth is far advanced.